And here it is. Gypsy Soul, remembering Sioux City's Tommy Bolin here at the Sioux City Public Museum, which is just a fabulous, fabulous place. So let's take a tour of it. And who better to help us with that than the person who put it all together, Johnnie Bolin. And here, growing up in Sioux City, beginning of the tour. So Johnny, congratulations. I mean,
pretty good, huh?
This is pretty fucking great. You pulled
Most enjoyable.
You pulled so much stuff out of the house, and Matt did such a great job putting this together, and it's fabulous. It's really something for people to come see. So what do we have here? What can you tell us about what we're looking at here?
Well, Tommy, like pretty much a youngster, we lived down here in what they call South Bottoms, You notice how close the river is to the. We lived on Days. Just there's a very good street down here. That's
Is that the other side of the tracks, kind of, or
yeah,
so to speak?
other side of the tracks. Yes, my dad loved Tom. He's walking the hot rods all the time. So he got him this, and then he got him a actual go-kart, and he raced, and he won 3 trophies. And that back here, kind of a half neighborhood junkyard. Like that was just there. You'll see Tommy, like, my dad would go, okay, now you're a cab driver, or now you're what did he say? I think he's overdressed, to tell you the truth.
Well, I would assume the intention was we're going to go take some pictures now.
Oh yeah, every day I think. I wasn't born yet. So this is still South Bottom. And this is the house we live in now. But we haven't lived there yet. We're still living here, going up there to visit my mom and aunts. This is up in Spencer, Iowa. Uncle Herb had a shoe repair. And I bet you didn't know he played trumpet. Well, he didn't know it either.
He probably could play it on some level.
That's when I was born. So we're thinking of moving around this time because they were really small.
And here's the beginning of the Tommy and Johnny era.
Right, Tommy and Johnny band. Tommy, he got to look like Elvis, and I got to look like Pat Boone.
With the white shoes on.
White bucks.
Yeah, the white bucks.
Here he is with your car. This is out Sioux City out of airport.
And we've talked before about how his whole competitive drive, which he was well known for, that part of that was manifested there in doing those go-kart.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a lot of spare time he had. And of course, that's his true self right there. We moved. Finally, Tommy said, well, move him here to another place. Had 2 bedrooms, but then he was still rooming, still had 1 room.
So did you sleep with both Tommy
Yeah.
and Pudge in the same bed?
Yeah. But here we did, though.
Oh,
We had 3 bedrooms.
you guys were moving on up
Yeah.
by 1967.
Tommy had his own room, and then me and Pudge. And that's Tommy when he first got back from Denver. And
And so how did this picture come to be? You were explaining how that worked.
well, that's where we practice. I mean, we eventually got rid of the keyboards, and that's where Patrick Blue used to practice. So Tommy left, and that's when I got my drums. Me and Pudge went down, and whoever could come over.
Yep. But then when this picture was taken, you were explaining that Tommy stage managed the picture.
Oh, yeah, telling us who to look at. He said, on this particular shot, I'm going to look at you, and you're going to be giving him the look. And Pudge, you look back at him. It's like, well, that's what you want us to do. That's what I want you to do. Say, shut up and play your guitar. It was quite good.
He was the older brother.
Yeah, I know. Well, okay. Have to be told. I was worried about this keyboard because it's a pump organ, you know. My dad, being born the genius that he was, got a vacuum cleaner and stuck it in there. And they just turned the vacuum cleaner on, and he went up to pump.
And you could do the solo from Inagata to Vita without having to.
Without having a pump.
I don't know if that was out yet, but.
Right. Yeah, well, unfortunately, we don't have any pictures in the chateau. He was with them for a short little while. I played with, this is the one that band he played with John Bartle. Tommy played keyboards, and John played guitar. And then we switched off. My dad bought the keyboards. He got them to hand embroidery. Of course, that's Patrick Blue. They were real popular.
And so I know Brad left for Denver, late 66, early 67?
Oh, Brad Miller did, yeah.
Yeah. And that you have that story about the Larvicks coming over to the house in the spring of 67, and they had some news for Tommy. And they said that you were they went up in the bedroom and you were there waiting. So let's hear that story again.
Well, it's just they rehearsed on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And it was a Wednesday, and I thought that was odd. And then they all came over unannounced. Is Tommy in his room? I go, yeah. So then they went back there, and came out about 5 minutes later. Walked out. Tommy walked out about 5 minutes later. I said, what was that all about? He goes, they fired me. I played too loud. That's what I said. He was hurt though.
Well, it was.
Well, he didn't know what to do. Howard was out of band. Howard was out of school. He had a girlfriend though. Good looking.
What was her name?
Her name was Cindy Peters. She married Philip. Oh man.
Because Philip had family was in the military. His dad was in the military, right?
Right.
And so they were from New York originally, but were based in Sioux City. Yeah. And so that's how Philip met Tommy.
Tommy's mom was Cindy at the time. It's crazy. And they ended up coming together in California.
Yep. Because Philip owned the house that the garage got turned into the Glen Holly studio.
Yeah.
And then,
This is kind of your era.
yeah, so then, he got to the point where I'm leaving Sioux City. I'm going to Denver. And Brad was already in Denver. So he, I guess, was also saying to Tommy, yeah, Denver's pretty happening. Maybe you should come to Denver. And so he had learned Purple Haze that summer when Are You Experienced came out. And then he had a band, you've told me about this band just briefly, that he had in Sioux City, where they did a couple talent shows, the Harlem's Children.
Yeah, Harlem's Children.
Which is not in any of the stories about Tommy's.
No, I think they only did play the one time. Hey, I'm putting the story together, but it seems to be like he wasn't in this band no more.
Yeah, he'd been fired.
He got a pair of Madras pants, which they never let him wear, like the Blues Magoos era.
Yep.
And they had a band kind of like Blue Cheer, they're probably way better.
And who was in the band?
He had a black keyboard player and singer. And then he had a guy named Gary Hockett on drums, and he played guitar.
And were they all African American?
Gary Hockett wasn't the drummer.
And so I'm assuming that Purple Haze was one of the songs that maybe they did.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure, yeah.
And so then fall comes and Tommy leaves for Denver with his guitar and Purple Haze available to be played.
Right.
And he gets to Denver, and that's what he did. He would play Purple Haze for people, and everybody just completely lost it. And that's how American Standard
these are all
started.
very interesting stories. I mean, it's really great story to tell.
And then, of course, Family Dog for 9 months had all the hippest bands imaginable playing in Denver. But then it ended the end of June of '68, and that's when Tommy went to Cincinnati. Because he, I guess, had heard, hey, there's a chance to have a gig with Lonnie Mack or something like that in Cincinnati. And Family Dog had closed, so I'm assuming he was like, I'm going to go check that out.
Well, it's him and John Ferris.
Well, that's where he met John, though, right? Because John was from Cincinnati.
Yeah.
So he went to Cincinnati and immediately got accepted, however that all went down. But Tommy at that point was like a warm knife through butter. He would be accepted anywhere he went. And he met John, and then that was very short-lived from what I've been able to put together. And so then he was going to come back to Denver.
The drummer died.
Is that what happened?
From the Ginger People. Remember they had that, and he'd only been in the band a couple of weeks, and he overdosed. And so then the drummer's mom sold all their equipment.
So
now they don't have any equipment. They don't have no band. They had John Ferris band. Remember him picking the back up.
But then he was going to head back to Denver, but stopped first, was going to then go to Sioux City first. And then there's the whole story about the police and his hair getting...
Yeah.
So what happened? What did you know about that story?
Well, he was hitchhiking back through. Now, he wasn't coming to Sioux City. He must have been hitchhiking to...
Denver.
No, he was coming from Denver.
Oh. Before he got to Cincinnati.
Right. And that hocus pocus happened there. So we got with John Ferris and they jumped in the van. No. He got picked up in Fort Riley, Kansas. Fell out there off. And the cops shipped him to Sioux City. And he was on some sort of like probation for running away and all that. Then he got a hold of John. He already known John. And so when they coming back from Cincinnati, stopped in Sioux City and picked him up. And they went out there. So he's in Sioux City another 3 months, that whole summer. No hair.
And when I talked to Bobby Berge, he talked about how that's when, at the patio, that they jammed to Purple Haze, and they had never done that together before. And that's when Bobby first really jammed with Tommy, and that both of them went, whoa. And that's how Tommy really got dialed into Bobby, but which would manifest later when he got him into Zephyr. It was the memory of that jamming to Purple Haze where both Tommy and Bobby were like, cool.
Well, you could tell Bobby was more advanced than anybody else he played with around here or even partly in Denver.
He was pro grade at that point, right?
He went to North Texas State, and he was older.
So anyway, John comes and picks Tommy up. They go back to Denver, and they formed Ethereal Zephyr, which was in Denver in the fall of '68. And from my...
This is more your era.
Yeah, so then what research I've done...
I mean, it's my era, but I didn't live my era.
Right. But there was a gig on New Year's Eve of 1968 going into '69 where Ethereal Zephyr was on the bill and Brown Sugar was on the bill, which was Candy and David. And Beast may have been on the bill too, Kenny Passarelli's band. So that's when the light bulb started going off around how Zephyr wound up getting formed. Which then they came together in early '69. So Tommy can see his hair is still, it's been growing out ever since it all got cut off. But that's why these early pictures of Zephyr, his hair is short.
But not as short as it was when the cops cut it off. It was bad. See, this is the picture of that
Dan Fong, yep. Hair's getting a little longer. And then Zephyr played at Santa Monica Civic, and that's when Tommy's first Gibson was stolen, right? I believe that the one that wasn't the one Dave Brown with the American flag pickup. He had it.
Yeah, stolen it to the film market.
It's that one that's in that TV, the show videos.
Yeah.
That he's playing there. It's just gold, right?
Yeah.
And is that guitar ever?
It was flaked. It was metal plate.
And that never been found. So if you're out there and you have that guitar, get a hold of us.
Yeah, Tommy lost a few that way. But this one, he actually sold. That's the guy that
Dan.
has a receipt.
Where you get the certificate of authenticity, right? From Dan.
Well, yeah, he wanted the guitar back.
Oh.
Yeah, that's when they had Karen write and go, I must have been high and the string was screwed on properly. Anyway.
This guitar?
Yeah.
So yeah, again, what's that story exactly?
Well, he sold it and just, a lot of things going on.
And it's before guitars had gotten to be this collectible thing, right?
And within a matter of maybe a year, less than a year, it became really popular and really a great guitar. He was just into switching around. I mean, he had a Telecaster for a while. He had Joe Walsh's double neck.
Well, that's where that came from. And so this picture, of course, when he got the Bolin, he would, from time to time, wear the feathers like that.
Right.
And that's where the mythology got started, that he was indigenous. It was from these pictures of him.
Well, he played in, I heard was he played in Pueblo and met the chief. And the chief, because you can't, it's eagle feather, you can't wear them unless they're given to you by the Pope.
Yeah, like within the indigenous world, that's being blessed. That makes it okay.
Yeah.
You don't just. So Tommy was being appropriate in him wearing something that was given to him by an indigenous chief. Is that?
I wore one that we played, but I wore back here. You know, let me wear it where it's visual.
So that's a fascinating fact. I hadn't heard that one. That there was actually an Indian chief who gave him that, which made it then culturally appropriate for him to wear it. Back then,
Right, exactly.
which there wasn't a lot of.
You know, I'll do
Yeah, there's so many. Yeah, there's.
lady.
Yep. And that's when they did going back to Colorado, since Eddie Kramer had just engineered the Jeremy Steig Energy album that Jan Hammer was on. And that's how then Tommy got hooked up with Jeremy and Jan Hammer. And the whole fusion thing that led to Spectrum kind of got started because they came to do this, as the story now is known, that Jimmy Page in May of '69 had saw them at the opening for them 3 nights in Boston, and that he flipped out, and he got a hold of David Givens and said, I need to hook you guys up with Eddie Kramer, because he just had mixed with Jimmy Led Zeppelin 2 at Electric Lady. He said, let me hook you up. And that was the precipitation. That's how this all happened. Because they got out of their deal with ABC. They did this album. And because of that whole thing, of Jimmy Page seeing Tommy and flipping out, they wound up meeting Eddie, who came to Denver and actually did a gig with Zephyr at Mammoth Gardens, where he played piano. And that then led to them Tommy meeting Jan Hammer, Jeremy Steig, which I now see as that all happened because of Jimmy Page.
Right.
That within 3 months of Zephyr playing out anywhere, they were opening for Led Zeppelin.
Well, see, the whole thing was ever before anything, because you know, they tried to my dad, but he had it. Tommy visualized he always was going to have his band.
Yep, yep.
It was never going to be
Never going to be in a band.
right.
It was going to be his band.
Yeah. So that's why I kept coming back to Energy. He quit Energy to join James Gang, to quit James Gang, to join Energy again.
Which is when, towards the end, that's when Russell Bezet had moved to Denver and Boulder at Tommy's invitation. And he was then in that next incarnation of Energy, which isn't as well known. But then when they did Tommy Bolin and Friends in 1974, that's where Russell sings 2 of the songs on that album. And Archie sings one.
Yeah. Bobby LeKind.
Right, there you go. We were just wondering. So this picture, I was there when Tommy was inducted in the Colorado Music Hall of Fame, and we were at this event beforehand, and Dan Fong was giving some of these away to some of the musicians. Yeah. And of course,
Sorry, Stanley.
yeah, and Stanley, I guess, was given this copy, but then he didn't feel he could carry it at that point, so Johnny took it, and here it is.
Mine ever since. That's the way God planned. Never played Sioux City. Tommy brought back James Gang, and good gig.
You just told me some stories about your mother preparing a special feast.
Oh no, we locked it up. Yeah. He wasn't really mean to me at all.
Who, Tommy?
Yeah.
But
It was more of jokes.
But you got older brother teasing.
Yeah, I have an older brother, that's right. It seemed like he was one of these. He didn't have to say much, but when he said it, heard around the world.
Especially in your world.
Well, Karen, his girlfriend at the time, made all the suits when he got to, when he started dressing up again.
Again?
When the Zephyr days was just...
It was organic.
Yeah.
It wasn't, nobody was dressing up. They were just playing, as all the bands did back then.
You know, and almost too much. You know, because they weren't Gary Glitter, or they weren't Bowie. The James Gang, wow. But she sure made some nice things, though.
Yeah, but Bowie was an influence on Tommy, right?
Yeah, yeah. She made him a Bowie outfit, but he never got there's no band to play with him. She made this one.
Which I was proud to donate this image.
To Project Mike.
This was when Tommy was actually doing it was just him, Ronnie Barron, Stanley, and either Alphonse, we're not sure. We've been trying to figure out whether it was actually a show. Bob Furbosh, who took this, remembers that it was an Alphonse gig, like maybe they did a couple, but we've been having a hard time getting that.
He wore that on the album cover.
Well, that was the album that.
Yeah.
Yep.
That one I don't know. I have nothing to say. Whose guitar? Where's that?
Public Museum will close at 5.
Look. Scratchy PA here at the museum. And so this, of course, how many times did Alphonse come to Bolin Fest?
Just one time.
Just one time.
And the Moxie albums, album. He got called to do it because the guitar player walked out in the middle of a session. And they called Tommy.
And wasn't it somebody from the James Gang, who Tommy had met in the James Gang, who was involved with Moxie by that point?
Tom Stevenson.
No, not Tom, not musician, but somebody from behind the scenes.
Oh, I don't know.
That's what I think I read. And the Tommy was he was there, was it jamming with somebody else at the studio, and then they came and
Yeah,
said,
he just
hey.
went over and just did the solo. But he didn't even learn the song or anything. They just go to the party, then they punch him in. The next song. So we did like 5 songs one night. Earl wasn't too happy about that, the guitar player.
Because he wasn't there, or he had been,
He's the one that walked out.
yeah, he had a temper tantrum,
Yeah.
and Tommy was there at that moment. Hey,
He looks upon it now like he's a great guitar player, you know. Tommy.
yeah, I'm sure Earl has gotten over it.
These are some plaques that we got in here in Sioux City or state of Iowa. The time we got inducted into the Dual Hall of Fame last year. The ones on the ends. That one and that one. There's one in Denver. Bottomos and Warren Higgins.
from the show at the Mission, which we were all at. That was a beautiful night.
Tommy was in the shed, Tony was, so they got me to do it. But he was in the shed, so they plaque too.
And then what do we have in this case here?
Well, you know, the ultimate, that's a big long story. And this is our stuff that me and you did in the archives. A lot of it.
Yeah, because for me, when this came out, that's when I did the ultimate documentary. It's finally Tommy's back. And then I thought maybe more music will come out. And Bob was at Furbrush thinking the same thing. And then when it was nothing but bootlegs and tape trading, that's when the series of events happened that was like led to the archives. Can we actually get this stuff put out in a quality way?
Yeah.
And get distribution and reinvigorate
Or
it?
bootlegging.
Yeah, and where you're getting a check versus not, which the bootlegs, there's no checks coming to the Bolin family. And so...
Plus it did, you know, that's all they had then. Bootleg. No one was doing this. And you would took it and remastered it and put it in a jewel box and wrapped it, hats, and
started the archives.
full deal.
And Furbrush, he was really the guy with the recording mastery, remastering those tapes. And he's now told me the story of late 70s, I think. He came here and came to the house and helped pudge, because all the tapes were just in these boxes. It was completely crazy.
Willie Dixon was.
Well, this might have been before Willie, where Bob came and actually helped organize all the tapes. And then he took a copy of everything, which was the roots of how he had all this stuff for the archives. And then he made all these... Anyway, Bob was a real hero when it comes to Tommy. And I just want to shout him out.
Exactly. Bob was. And I actually, you know, knew him through Tommy.
Yeah.
That's Tommy Bolin.
And then, of course, here's the Mile High Stadium. And again, these pictures were all taken by Bob that day, because he worked officially for Phaline, and he was Bob the day man. So if there were ever errands, he would run them. And that would include picking Tommy up at the airport, taking him to doctor's exam, whatever all it was. Yeah, yep. And he was the guy in Phaline who loved Tommy. Tommy was the most important thing to Bob.
Yeah.
Where everybody else there had other agendas, because they were on the Queen Mary of rock.
That was my first gig with Tommy.
The first gig was that day.
I mean, my first real gig. I played with him.
And then
That was, yeah, he told me to smile. Make me smile. But what a great picture.
how nervous were you that night? Do you remember?
Wasn't very nervous. It was unreal. 50,000 people, I'm going, they can't hear that way the fuck up there. I mean, I just went by real quick and I was more nervous afterwards.
Yeah, because you had not ever played in front of...
Those colors. That's beautiful. Oh no, I never. To this day, even with Black Oak, I mean, we played Brazil, we played some, you know, pretty big places, but nothing like that. No stadiums.
And this is another one of the recent things that I was motivated to do.
I love that.
Let's come over this way. And this was it. This was Tommy doing everything Tommy would have ever wanted to do.
Yeah, that was it, yeah.
And Nat Weiss, who was the owner, knew that, and he gave Tommy carte blanche. You want to make a diverse album that speaks all your musical voices? Go for it. And that's what this album was. And yeah, the personnel who play on it, it's like a who's who of all the great musicians. And everybody wanted to play with Tommy.
Yeah, it's just a Class A album.
A plus.
Cover is like, that should have been a Rolling Stone.
So when I sent you this, and you had it, and you looked at it, what was kind of your visceral, what was your feeling?
Well, I just came from a record company. They had a lot of this stuff going on in his office, and I guess I can say the name, Cleopatra.
Yeah.
But and I see this, I'm going like, what's that doing here in my house? You know, like, what a great idea. Just Class A. All the way. There it is. Oh, we just missed. Tommy idolizing Elvis.
May 1956. Tommy's 4 years and 9 months old, and Rich Bolin's going, I'm taking you to see Elvis. Which I judge was the first major rock tour ever where somebody would go out and play in front of 10,000 people.
Yeah.
It was all like road houses.
Oh, we got some interesting stories from people in Sioux City. My aunt bugged him and, you know, this and that. Like, maybe she did, I don't know. But, you know, and a couple of stories that George had.
It was what's called a big deal.
Yeah, it's a big deal, all right.
And of course,
None of the class addressing there. You got was murdered with that, you know.
and then off of when Zephyr played in Phoenix in 1969, and the Red, White, and Blues Band with Prairie Prince was on the bill. And after the show, they went out in the desert, and evidently probably took LSD or whatever, and they all jammed till sunrise. And Tommy never forgot. So when he started recording Private Eyes, working with Lee Kiefer, who had worked with the Tubes. And that's when Tommy went, hey, can you get a hold of that Prairie Prince to come play on Teaser? And then that led to Prairie creating this.
Right.
This is the actual shirt that Tommy wore. Okay. And so and of course this has been in storage here at the museum for a while, and it's currently not in storage, gang.
And the red suit that you see Tommy in, no, we've seen him so far, but Perry also did the Private Eyes on the sleeves, the airbrush them.
And so Prairie,
If you see that red suit, which Tommy wore quite a bit.
and if you get a chance to see any of the variety of bands Prairie is still active in, and he's still killing it, go see them. Go see them. Well, Todd, and he gets into a number of different concept bands too, with pros coming together because they can go out and tour.
Right.
So Prairie is still very much in tune with what Tommy was
The
about.
friend of ours, she should have made these rocks.
Who did?
A guy named Tom Hugel. He was we'll just call him like we did when we were kids. He's the head of a motorcycle gang.
And he's an artist. He's
But he,
able to work with images and put them on stone.
He was 27. He had a hippie gallery called Gaggle. And Tommy let me go. Well, I don't know if he let me go in there, but I went in. Allen Ginsberg and all those posters back in the day. And Tom owned it. And he got to know Tommy as Tommy was 16. So him and Bartley used to go to the Gaggle Art Gallery, motorcycle gangs. They had their meetings and rehearse. And let these kids, go in there. And anyway, him and Tommy were really, really close in that way, And he made these, made 4 or 5 other ones. But he loved Tommy.
Well, it was just whispered in my ear that the museum closes in 5 minutes.
We're about wrapped up.
I think so. But suffice it to say, if you're anywhere near Sioux City, or even if you're not, this is amazing. It's going through towards late August. And there's really never been this kind of display of this magnitude and completeness, I don't believe.
They did one 10 years ago.
But isn't this the next level up from that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. This is the one to come see. Well, that was too, but I mean, and of course, the museum, the admission charges, there is no admission charge.
Real brief, 10 years ago when we did it, I had all Tommy's suits.
Oh, yeah, yep. So there were some elements there that are not here. Yeah.
But that's right, see right there. There you get focused in on the private eyes. They're buried right in there. The private eyes.
Oh, wow.
But thanks everyone. I'm going number 1 now. I'm gonna get thrown out. But
Closing her down.
look me up sometime.
And this weekend, I believe Friday, Saturday, I mean, you'll be at the venue, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Well,
Show must go on.
come say hi.
Thanks, Michael.
Johnny, love you, brother.
Thank you, David.
Yeah, you bet.